My name is Victor Fuhrman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me now and we will explore these topics and so much more with fascinating guests, authors, and experts who will guide us to Destination Unlimited. In January 2001, I had the honor of testifying before the White House Commission on Complementary and Alternative Medicine Policy. I was one of many healers and practitioners sharing our backgrounds and the efficacy of our practices. Many of us also had the shared experience of a serious health crisis that changed our lives and paths. I recently had the synchronicity of meeting and becoming friends with a man who lived this transformative change and now brings the gift of profound power to others. My guest this week on Destination Unlimited, Joe Petroski, is CEO and founder of Profound Power, Inc. He's a professional speaker, spiritual teacher, and certified healer in Chinese energetics. Joe found his path through his personal victory over a long illness and certain death. When given the diagnosis of "there's nothing more we can do," Joe began his journey of healing. His website is profoundpower.net, and he joins me this week to share his story, path, and message of healing and hope. It is my honor to welcome to Destination Unlimited my friend Joe Petroski. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Victor. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you for joining me. You and I had the pleasure of meeting through the New Life Expo and also through Sherry Kaplan's expos and health fairs, and had the wonderful experience of meeting you, becoming friends with you, and also had a healing with you, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So please share with our listeners your path in life before your health crisis.
Well, before my health crisis, I had vanilla of life, as you can imagine. I grew up Catholic. The neighborhood was like June and Ward Cleaver, and I had done a variety of things, and I had my own home maintenance business. And so I would be called to fix your doors, your windows, your garbage disposal, build you a deck, remodel your bathroom. And that's what I did until I started to become quite ill. And at the request of my then wife, she begged me to go to the doctor because I was becoming allergic to more and more things, perfumes, colognes, laundry detergent, and such like that. And it was a very interesting path because my first trip to the doctor, she said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "I think I'm allergic to perfumes." And she goes, "Oh, you won't get better until you go to the 5th floor." I'm like, "Oh, okay, what's the 5th floor?" I'm thinking allergies, asthma, something like that. And it was the psych ward. And I'm like, okay, I didn't want to come here in the first place. And the first thing that the doctor says is I'm nuts. And I ended up, over the time period, working with over 9 doctors. I was very sick it affected my work for over 6.5 years. I wasn't able to work for 3.5. I was on oxygen for almost 2. And I had worked with some of the best doctors. And at the end, I was working with 2 that were independent of each other. And they knew it. They liked the idea that neither was completely responsible for my health. And within a week of each other, they both came to the conclusion, "Joe, we have one more treatment that we could try, but if it doesn't work, it will kill you." And I thought, wow, that guy's kind of always been the bleak one. I'll go to the other one. And so I went to the other doctor, and he says, "Joe," he says, "we only have one more treatment to try." And he says, "But if it doesn't work, it will hasten your death. You need to go home, and you need to get your affairs in order. You have less than a year to live, and it's going to be a horrific, horrible death, and you may end up taking your life because it's going to be such a painful end."
Oh, my goodness. Oh, man. Now, prior to your health crisis, did you have any sense about energy healing or spirituality?
No, I didn't know anything about it. Whenever anybody said anything about energy healing, I always thought it was the ladies in the tie-dye dresses wearing patchouli and beads.
So you had a sense that it was kind of what people sometimes call woo-woo, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So in 1999, you were literally sent home to die. What was your mindset at that point?
I mean, at first I was absolutely scared. I mean, like I said, when I went to the one doctor, he was very, very cut and dry and such like that. And so, but when I went to the other doctor had he was a doctor, he was a homeopath, he was a naturopath. He had studied in the United States and France and Germany. And when he gave me that conclusion, I was scared. I was just like, and I was just shell shocked. I got in the car and I cried and I screamed and I cussed and I told God to, what he could do with himself. And I was scared, but at the same time, I looked and I had a daughter at the time, and she was about 3 years old or so. And I was just like, I am not ready to die. I am not ready to die. And I literally screamed and yelled and told God, he couldn't have me. I wasn't ready.
Now, before we go on to your healing path, what were some of the things, in addition, you said the allergy to perfume, what other conditions had manifested within you?
Well, in the end, they called me a universal reactor. Whatever I breathed, whatever touched my skin, whatever I ate or drank affected my body, and my body tried to kill it. My body went into hyperdrive. And so the worst of my symptoms is when I would be exposed to certain chemicals, everyday chemicals, laundry detergent, fertilizer, hand lotion. I would be able to see something, like I might be able to tell you that the curtains in front of me are cream. Well, I wouldn't say cream. They're white and they're red. I might be able to tell you that, but I wouldn't be able to tell you there are curtains. The doctor at one time actually had my wife change the pictures on the wall. And she says, what's that picture over there? And I was like, well, dude, that's the cat in the vase, And it's like, she goes, okay, and what's this one over here? I said, well, that's the vines in the bridge. And she goes, Joe, no, they're not. And she had changed the pictures, and I would see things. I was driving with a friend because I no longer could drive on my own. And I couldn't tell you that big gray thing was a semi-truck. I couldn't tell you that yellow thing was a car. It was very, very, very scary. And sometimes what would happen is when I would get I was emaciated because I couldn't absorb the nutrients from the food. That was one of the problems. I was so skinny you could see the cartilage in my nose. You could see the difference between the cartilage and the bone in my ribs. It was very, very bad. I would have migraines that would last 5 to 7 days. It was a horrible illness.
What do you sense now that in retrospect, and after all you've learned through the years, what do you suspect was happening to you?
Well, in 1986, I had a surgery, and I caught 2 of those hospital infections. And so what ended up happening is the biochemistry of my body morphed and changed, and that's one of it. But when I looked at it, what was it that I learned from the illness and such like that is I had to be able to tell people around me, you cannot do that to me, or you cannot do that around me. And that was very unusual for me. I grew up in a very abusive situation where I learned not to speak and not to talk, and definitely not stand up for myself. And so I had to learn to be able to tell that, and it was interesting.
And as I recently shared in a post on Facebook, it's okay to say no.
Yes.
I shared that someone said no is a complete sentence. Mm-hmm. And that's the need for boundaries, which so many of us, especially those who are empathic and intuitive, need to have that ability to put that boundary around us and say, I love you, but no.
Yes, yeah. It's a lesson I continue to learn.
There you go. Now, how did you discover energy healing and ultimately heal?
I was in a support group for people with chronic illnesses, and one of the women in the support group, she called me up late one night, and she said, Joe, I saw this amazing healer. He's just awesome, and he had helped a couple of our friends. And I said, wow. And so I says, well, when's he available? And I was going through a nasty divorce, and they were using my illness to try and keep my daughters away from me. And so the last day that he was doing it, I couldn't do it. And I says, the only day I could do is Thursday. Well, she called up on Monday, the last day that he was supposed to be doing it. And she said, Joe, they added a Thursday. I sat up in bed. And I was like, okay, I'm going. And I thought it was serendipitous. And I went there and I watched this fella work on people, and it was amazing. And I saw people from my support group and from, when you're sick for 6.5 years, you start to run into people over and over at doctor's offices. And so I saw people that I saw from the doctor have amazing healings. And so I went up at the end because he didn't choose to work on me. I went up and I waited in line. And normally I'll give you privacy, but I was fighting for my life. And so I listened to every single thing that he was telling people, thinking that maybe I could use what he was saying for me. But nothing really applied. And I got up to him and I told him, because I told you that I would lose my vision at times, and there was a pain that I would get in my shoulder that would be like I was stabbed with a screwdriver. And when that pain came, it was telling me I was going to lose my sight soon, and there was some other symptoms that were quite tragic that would happen too. And I told him about that, and in a matter of moments, he made that pain go away. And it would usually take 3 or 4 days for that pain to subside. And I looked at him in astonishment, and he looked at me and he says, "You can do this too." And he hadn't said that all night. He had been talking for 2.5 hours, and he had never told anybody that anybody could do this. I looked at him with all the doubt I could muster, because I was the one that was dying. And he never said a word, but with his eyes, he said, "Yes, you can." Mm-hmm. And so I began to study from him, because one of the perks of studying with him is people would work on you. And so I went to his students, and after the second 1-hour session, I was off the oxygen. And after the third session, I was completely healthy.
Wow. Now, you have a wonderful picture on your website with your arms extended up in the air in victory. What's the story behind that picture?
My oldest daughter didn't know me healthy until she was 5.5 years old. Her whole life, I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And I was immune compromised. And so I had to wear a mask. And that's one reason I hate the mask now, because they're bullshit for what they're trying to do. But I had to do that for my own health. And I was on oxygen for almost 2 years. And when I got better, we would go to the library or to Target or to Whole Foods. And if we came out, my daughter would watch. And if I didn't need to put the oxygen on when I was in the library or the store, she would throw up her arms. "Daddy, Daddy, no oxygen, no oxygen." And, and so I learned from my 5.5-year-old daughter to celebrate the fact that I was living. And so that's what the arms up in the air are. And it's also, to overcome death and not to be able to live in exaltation at times, or not to be able to live with exuberance at times. I think that if I don't have the ability to get excited because of my life, I'm not really honoring the life that God gave me. So I try every so often to be really excited and to get myself excited and the people around me excited just about living.
Was that excitement something missing before that experience?
Oh, hell yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
Well, for 3.5 years, all I could do was sit in an easy chair.
Before your illness.
Oh, before my illness?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in a bad relationship, and it was a dysfunctional relationship. But previous to that, I believed, what my father and other people had told me when they were beating me. I believed that I was, defective. I believed that there was something wrong with me, that I would never matter, that I wasn't, that there was something wrong with me compared to everybody else. So I believed that for a long time.
Okay. And that belief contributed to what happened to you?
Certainly.
Okay. All right. What ancient healing techniques did you study, and what did you find out?
My first was the Shaolin way. My teacher was a 35th generation Shaolin master. And And he taught it very rudimentally. We started with kinesiology and things like that. But very quickly, I started to feel, being an empath, I could see. I'm a clairvoyant, clairsentient, and clairaudient. I didn't know what those words meant, but I can see, feel, and hear what your body's doing. And then I spent time with Native Americans, and the spending time with Native Americans was really amazing. It was groundbreaking. When I sat with the elder, very often he would never speak, and as an empath and as a healer, he would sit there and think and feel. And I started to see and feel what he was. And that's when I started to feel all the energy in the trees, all the energy in the rocks. That's when people that had passed away started to show up. And so between the Shaolin way and the Native American way, that's what I've done. And I've studied Bruce Lipton stuff, Dean Rodden stuff. I've had the opportunity to spend about 27 hours talking with Dr. Dean Rodden, which was mind-blowing. And I've had my work affirmed by Dr. Bruce Lipton. And I've spent my life really seeing, listening, and hearing. And anytime I have an opportunity, I'll look at somebody's healing work and I'll see if I want to add it to my toolkit. And I have the ability to sit near somebody and watch them work and see what they're doing. And then I can add it to my repertoire. And I've studied body work as well with some fantastic healers. And so I love what I do. And in 2012, even before that, my clients had begged me to coach them. And I felt completely inadequate and not equipped to do that. But when I saw the movie The Cure Is, everything that they were talking about in the movie is what I had been talking about for 6 or 7 years. And it gave me the confidence then to start coaching. And because when I watched that movie, the first time I wrote feverishly for 10 pages, the next time for 8, and the next time for 2. And that's when I started to do the coaching. And I love it. I love that, and I love the healing work.
You had mentioned with your Shaolin teacher the word kinesiology. For listeners who are not familiar with that, what is kinesiology?
Kinesiology is basically that whatever we experience in life, whether it be food, whether it be smells, whether it be words, our body will either remain strong to that or remain weak. And kinesiology is basically the idea of a person touching another person when they're thinking about something or holding something and seeing if their muscles hold strong to that. And so what we would do is when we would do the healing work, when somebody would come, we would look and it's like, well, is it physical? Is it mental? Is it emotional, psychological, psychic, or spiritual? We would look at that. And then what we would do is we would go deeper down those veins because very often, even though somebody shows up with a X-ray and there's something wrong on the X-ray, sometimes it can be emotional or sometimes it can be spiritual. And as we clear that emotional energy or that spiritual energy, they regain 100% of their strength and 100% of their range of motion.
That's something my wife and I do all the time. We call it muscle testing in the common vernacular, where you hold an object or hold, for example, she looks for a supplement. She'll hold that supplement in one hand, extend her arm, and I'll put pressure on her arm to see whether it goes down or not, to see whether or not the thing she's holding resonates with her system, with her body. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting, too, because in the book Power versus Force, and I always mix up the author, who that is, David Hawkins, I think. He talks in there that so many people actually do the kinesiology testing incorrect. He had gone to a kinesiology college, and many of the people that were teaching it were doing it incorrect. And so you're doing it, because you're looking at the supplements, and as the supplement, is my wife strong to the contents? And when you're asking, is she strong to the contents? Yeah, that's the question, because a lot of people will ask, is this good? And it's like, well, sure, it's good. It might be good for Sam, it might be good for George, but maybe not Tim, And so when we do it correctly, it's a very, very powerful science. Absolutely. My guest, Joe Petroski, the creator of Profound Power. Joe, please tell our listeners how they can find out more about you and the work that you do.
Well, the website is profoundpower.net. And my email is profoundpowerjoe@gmail. Again, profoundpowerjoe@gmail. And they can give me a call. I always offer a complimentary consultation. And the phone number is 651-755-6027.
And repeat that one more time and the website one more time, please.
Okay. Phone number is 651-755-6027. And the email is profoundpowerjoe@gmail.
And we'll be back with more of Profound Power Joe after these words on the OMTimes Radio Network.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes. Co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
A social distancing tip.
Keeping your distance from others is important in slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are some fun things to do alone. Read a book, take a walk, unpack your suitcase from that trip you took last September, paint a self-portrait, catch up on a TV series, do a puzzle. Remember, we should all stay home to lower the risk for everyone. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone-together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Vox Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Fuhrman. Join me every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio for Vox Novus, the new voice.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week, my friend Joe Petroski. We're talking about his profound power. Joe, how did all of those experiences that you talked about in the first segment lead to your creation of profound power?
Well, the first business that I had with the healing was called Pain Eliminated Incorporated because I concentrated on eliminating pains and illnesses. And it's important to know that energy healing is one modality. And I tell people all the time, I can only suggest, but they have to go through their doctors and their healthcare professionals, to make decisions. I can do what I can do. But the first was Pain Eliminated, and I worked with pains and illnesses. And then as I started to do the coaching, my clients had said that they experienced the truest sense of freedom that they've ever felt. So I did that for a while. And then somebody says, no, I feel the most profound sense of power from the healing and the coaching. And that really stuck. And so I call it profound power now. And it's a combination of physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. And when I say spiritual, I'm not about converting anybody to any kind of belief. I've worked with every religion that I know of. I think everybody gets to have their way. I just simply look at people and I can see and feel what their body's saying. I give them that information, and it's my belief that as they become happier and healthier, that they can have a better connection with Creator, Spirit, God, however you want to say it.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, one of the things that I had mentioned in the introduction was that I did testify before the White House Commission on Complementary and Alternative Medicine. And one of the things that every practitioner stressed at that was that these were not replacements for traditional or allopathic medicine, but additions, complements to allopathic medicine. So see your doctor, but also come to people like Joe who can give you a different perspective. So that's what we just wanted to clarify on that. You say that energy assumes its true state when being observed. What does that mean?
Well, when we are stuck in pain or illness, we make all kinds of assumptions and we make all kinds of judgments. And people around us, doctors, healthcare people, energy people, will also sometimes make assumptions. When we simply observe the energy will tell us what needs to be honored. It will tell us what isn't working. And so doing the energy healing for me, you don't care what I think. You don't care what my beliefs are, that kind of stuff. And they don't matter in your healing. When I witness your body will tell me everything that I need to know. And as I pay attention to it and as I honor that space, your body literally will come to the point of its own healing.
What is a healing session like with you?
I do most of my work over the phone. I have clients all over the world. And what I do is when they call me, and I offer a free consultation, I want people to feel comfortable with me. So they can call me up and they say, hey, Joe, I have this hangnail, or they can tell me I have back pain, neck pain, whatever. And then I'll answer their questions. But when I do the session itself, I ask them to just get in a quiet place, and anything that they think, anything that they feel, anything that they come up, to feel free to share it with me. And as I look at the individual, sometimes people from their past will come up, sometimes dates or times from their past will come up, or incidents, accidents, with themselves or others. And occasionally somebody that has passed away will come and speak. But as these things from their life come forward, we pay attention to them. We allow them to clear. And then during the session, people usually start to feel better. They usually start to have more range of motion, less pain. The illness, starts to subside. Sometimes they won't know until they actually, get another scan, another image, or another blood test to be able to see what difference is there. But very, very often we can work and we can eliminate the symptoms. And it's fantastic to be able to have people go in to the doctor, have new blood tests, have the blood tests be terrific after a session. And I used to live in Minnesota, and Minnesota is known for the Mayo Clinic. And I would have people that would come with their diagnosis from the doctors. They would come to me. I would work on their symptoms. And they would go back to the Mayo Clinic and they would say, what on earth did you do? And they'd say, well, why? Well, your arteries are no longer blocked. You don't need the surgery. Your heart's better. Your kidneys are better, or whatever. And they would ask, it's like, what did you do? And, well, I went to this energy healer in St. Paul. And towards the end of my days of living in Minnesota, they'd say, Joe? And so the Mayo Clinic started to find out about me. It was kind of cool.
That's wonderful. And when you're actually doing the work, what do you actually see? How does that work for you?
It's really cool. I wish I could draw it. Sometimes I see stuff like anatomically. Sometimes I see things like if we were actually dissecting the body, or if you opened up an anatomy book, sometimes I would see things like that. Sometimes when I'm looking at something, instead of seeing, cartilage issues or tendon issues, instead of seeing the anatomy, I'll see just different energy. And the energy can be just like something on TV. If you're seeing it, like on Star Trek, for example, they would show, ooh, and it'd be bad energy, or you'd say, ooh, and it'd be nice energy. Sometimes I see things like that. Sometimes I hear stuff, and I've had an instance where there was a woman, and she had horrible shoulder issues, and she had a great deal of pain. And I saw a chocolate Easter bunny, and I was like, so I asked her, I said, when you think about a chocolate Easter bunny, what comes to mind? And she had all kinds of emotions, and her father was an alcoholic. And when she was 9 years old, she had the audacity to bite the ears off of her dad's chocolate Easter bunny. And her dad about ripped her arm out of her socket. And what had happened is her father got sober in his 40s. And so at the end of his life, he was a really sweet, nice guy. But what ended up happening is when we saw that, her father actually came to talk and said, you get to be angry at me. When you were young, I was, and he, gave some expletives. And he says, towards the end of your life, we were nice and we had a great relationship. But when you were a younger girl, I hurt you in a lot of ways. When we were done, she had 100% range of motion and zero pain. And so I've done a lot of things like that when I've worked with people. They've had pains and illnesses, and people from their past will come forward. Images will come forward. It's very, very interesting work, and there's nothing that's the same. Whether I've worked with dozens and dozens of people with knee problems or back problems, and nobody's the same. There might even be hundreds that I've worked with by now.
So the energy speaks to you in different forms to give you the information you need to work with that person.
Yes. And what I do is when I work, I always set out the prayer and the intention to only see what I need to see, only hear what I need to hear, and only feel what I need to feel, and then only say the words that the client needs to hear. And so that makes it easy for me because I don't need to see things, I don't need to hear things or feel things that aren't going to help a client.
And by the same token, one of the things that many of us who've been involved in energy healing over the years have come to learn, and sometimes learn the hard way, that when we do this work, it's for the highest good of the person. We may not know what that highest good may be, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And it is the highest good because we can work with people, and sometimes people will call up and I'll say, it's like, well, I'm not sure I can help you with, X disease or X illness, but it feels like we should work anyways. And what ends up happening is they have an emotional healing or a spiritual healing. And I've had it where people will come in and like, my knee, but I start working on their back or their neck because that's where I'm guided to. And sometimes we get to the knee and sometimes we don't. But yeah, it's up to the highest good, and it's up to whatever creator shows.
Absolutely. I just want to share that I had a wonderful session with you about a month ago now, and that I had been experiencing tremendous pain. I had back issues many years ago, had it addressed surgically at the time, but I had tremendous pain in the area of my back, sort of behind the pelvis area, which had manifested out of nowhere. That I had, and I didn't lift anything, didn't do anything to exacerbate anything, just happened. And with Joe on the phone, within about 5 minutes, he started tuning in to what he saw and started working with the energy in a way that he works with the energy. And I'm going to say within 15 minutes, I was totally pain-free and have been so ever since that time. So thank you for that, Joe. That was wonderful.
Woohoo! That's the kind I get excited about that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. When you hear success stories and you know that what you do has efficacy and works and helps people, which is the ultimate goal of all of this, obviously, it's just really exciting. And you can jump for joy. You can raise your arms up in that victory sign and say, you know what, this stuff works and it works for people. And I'm thankful and I'm grateful that the Creator has given me the ability to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just for those who would be interested in this, does this require in-person appointments or can it all be done remotely?
It can all be done remotely. Occasionally, when I'm working with somebody that has had a significant illness or injury, occasionally I will get together and I will do some body work with them because sometimes when we've had really serious illnesses or injury, sometimes it's gone into the tissues and touching can help. But 99% of the time, it's all over the phone. And, sometimes what will happen is people will invite me to come to their area, their town. Often down here in Florida, what will happen is, a client will invite me to their house for the day. And then what I'll do is I'll see, 4 or 5 of their friends throughout the day. And then I'll do in person. But most of the time, it's all over the phone.
Do clients have to believe in this for it to work?
No, they don't have to believe in me. They don't have to believe in the technique. They just need to know and believe that somehow, some way they can get better. Because if they're open to the fact that whether through pills or supplements or surgery or physical therapy or chiropractic, if they think that somehow they're going to be able to get better, then there's a possibility. But if somebody believes that they'll never get better. Like Henry Ford says, if you think you can do a thing or you think you cannot, you're correct. So they just have to be open. They have to be open. They have to be willing and ready to receive their healing, and then everything is possible.
Do they need a faith base to benefit from this, or can they be agnostic or atheists?
Yeah, they can be agnostic or atheist. Energy is energy, always has been, always will be, and it works for everybody. And like I say, I've worked with everything, Buddhist, Hindu, atheist, agnostic, Catholic, Judaism, Muslim, everything. And I don't share my beliefs. You don't need to know them. But whatever your beliefs are, they'll definitely be honored.
In addition to doing the energy healing work, what other services do you offer?
I do the coaching, and I do individual coaching and I do group coaching. One of the programs that I absolutely love the most is a 90-day program that I call Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth. And it's 90 days that we work together, and I give people support through that entire time through the video app called Marco Polo. And I call it wisdom because we need to know we need to know the unconscious laws that we have adopted and that have been ruling our lives. People call them blocks and things like that. And it's like, no, these are laws. These are laws that govern your body, govern your mind. And as I help people become aware of them, then we can erase them, and I can give them tools to work past them. But we need to be wise to what they are first. And then we need to have the wisdom of the tools to take care of it. The wellness, we do the healing work throughout the process, and people always, have a state of being much better physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And the wealth is just a complete side effect. And this is talked about, I believe, in Napoleon Hill's the Growing Rich, or whatever the book is. And he talks about the fact that when people mastermind, that their life changes in such a way that finances cannot help but get better. And I love that. I love the coaching. I love the healing. And I do volunteer work with kids, usually juveniles. I'll go to detention centers, treatment centers, and I'll talk with them. And it's fantastic to be able to go in there and give some wisdom to the kids and be able to help them see what's good about themselves and help them with their sobriety.
That's wonderful. I had the honor of actually teaching some kids who were in Rikers Island prison here in the juvenile program and introduce them to the field of welding, and the excitement when they recognize that they could develop a skill that could lead into a wonderful career, a high-paying career, and not have to engage in the activities that got them in trouble to begin with. The smiles on their faces, it completely transforms the personality. I'm sure you've seen the same thing.
Oh, it is. And, you know, it's so sad because when I go into the detention centers, very, very often I'm told, you're the first person that's ever said anything nice about who I am.
Yeah, I've heard that. I know what you're talking about. And it's really rewarding, and it just makes everything worthwhile. My guest, my friend Joe Petroski, will be back with more of Joe after these words on the OMTimes Radio Network.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living. A chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week, my friend Joe Petroski. We're talking about his technique, Profound Power for Healing. Joe, you also address individual perspectives. How do you help clients find what their best life would look and feel like?
I love it. I love it. When I look at everybody, I can see their greatest talent. I can see their greatest gifts and how they communicate and how they learn. And then I can see the blocks that they have and the laws that they have governing them, stopping them from being that. And so when I look at them, what I do is I first tell them, I says, you're really, really good at this. You're really, really good at this. You're really good at that. And then I'll say, and it's like, okay, and this is what prohibits you from going further in your career. This is what inhibits you from having terrific relationships, either with your career or your family life. And so people often worry that being an energy healer, being a psychic or an intuitive, that I'm going to see their dirty laundry. And it's like, why would I look at your dirty laundry when I can see the best of who you are? If I need to see your dirty laundry to help you, then I'll look. But when I can see the best of who you are, the most wonderful things about you, and help that grow, why wouldn't I concentrate on that? So that's what I like.
I think that's amazingly wonderful, because how many people in any type of healing profession don't look at what's negative about a person, but look at what's positive about a person?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no need to look at what's negative, none whatsoever. If people, I should qualify that quickly, because if people are going against their own mores, and I tell people to look up morals and mores. Mores are more governing, and so if people go against their own mores, then you're going to have problems. And so then I'm going to have to say, because I've worked with people that are cheating on their husbands or wives, and if it doesn't matter to their healing, I don't mention it. But occasionally what will happen is I'll say, hey, you have the boyfriend, and the fact that you're doing this, it's actually causing you some problems, and that's what's showing up right now with the healing. And so then I'll look at it, or I'll say, it's like, there's some people, it's like, you're drinking too much, and you know that. Or you got a problem with, yelling or screaming. And so I'll help people with that, but I'll always bring the reason that that's their downfall, because they don't need another person, saying you got an anger problem. They need somebody to be able to say, this is the reason that you go towards that. And by being able to show them the thing that makes that their downfall, then they have power to change it. And
absolutely. Before the physical separation and isolation caused by COVID, people were having difficulty in relationships forever. How do you work with clients on their relationships?
The first thing that I do is I really try and look, and is like, do both sides want to work with it. And but when I'm working with somebody, what I'll do is I'll be able to see, for example, I'll be able to. There's a woman that I was working with, and I always camouflage things so you would never be able to identify this person, or I get the direct permission. And this one I have the direct permission. So this woman. Very, very well respected in her field, made tons of money. But she was, in her personal relationships, she emasculated men unbelievably. And she didn't understand it, and she didn't know. And I was like, okay, you have this guy that is worshiping the ground you walk on, and you're making mistake after mistake that really is emasculating him. And so as I worked with her and talked with her, she saw that. And then I reassured her, this guy loves you. He has no interest in the fact that you're a multimillionaire. He could care less. And we worked with that. And then I helped the man. I says, hey, dude, you don't want to be this subservient, emasculated man. And so I helped him learn how to be able to say no. And then what I did is I showed them each the crux, if you will, that was causing them to have these negative characteristics. And as a result, they've been together now. I mean, it's been very, very successful. I think about 14 years they've been together, and it's been fantastic.
Literally healing the relationship.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, because, we grow up learning the dysfunction from the relationships around us. And we don't know that we have, we don't know that we have trap doors as we're trying to walk forward in a relationship. We don't know that there's a trap door preventing us from really feeling safe or really feeling love. And so when we get closer, what ends up happening very, very often is the closer we get, the more scary it gets. And so we revert to ugly behavior patterns or unhelpful patterns, either towards ourselves or the other. And when we're aware of those things, we can, oh, you know what? Shoot, I'm doing that. I'm doing that again. either to myself or to the other person. And if we're in a relationship, what I do is I always ask the people in the relationship, what is the goal? What's the goal? Because you have to have a common goal. Because, for example, it's like, okay, let's go play a game. So you and I are going to play a game. I show up, it's like, okay, great. It's, fall and winter. I'm going to play football. Why are you dressed like you want to play tennis? We got to be on the same wavelength. We want to be able to have the same goals. And if you have the same goals, then you can work towards it. And it can be beautiful, beautiful things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are obviously passionate in all that you do. What would you share with those who are not so enthusiastic about their careers?
Why the hell are you here? Whoops, sorry.
That's okay.
Seriously, why the heck are you here? You only have one life. And I've unfortunately faced death too many times to just play average. I'm not going to play average. I'm not going to play below what I want. Why are you in a career that you're dissatisfied about? And then if you've been in 3 different careers and you've been dissatisfied in each of those careers, is it possible that maybe you're dissatisfied in who you are? And I look at people, and again with the picture with my arms in the air, if you can't every so often say, oh my God, I had the most fantastic day at work. If you can't say that every so often, I'm sorry for you, and why wouldn't you want to have something, whether it's work or a relationship, why wouldn't you want to be able to say, oh my God, I am so happy I get to go home to my person. If you're not feeling that, shift, man, and that doesn't necessarily mean getting a new partner. Because you see it so often where people they'll end that relationship and he's the same kind of guy as the last one and the last one, and it's like, well, if we keep on dating the same kind of people, maybe I'm the one that needs a change. And so having the guts to do that, because, Creator God, however you want to say it, didn't send us down here to just plod along and meander through and then die. This is an incredibly gorgeous, beautiful world with incredibly wonderful, fantastic people, with incredible things to see, incredible things to enjoy. If we're not enjoying life like it is this magnificent thing, why are we here? And that's what I talk about all of the time, is being your magnificent self.
And of course, all of that is contingent on energy and vitality. What do you coach on that?
The energy and vitality, we have to really pay attention. What are the things that zap our energy? What are the things that we put up with that really rob us of our joy, rob us of our health? There's so many ways. If people want to, they can send me an email at profoundpowerjoe@gmail.com. And there's one of the things that I talk about all the time wherever I go, and it's simple power positions. And this is just the beginning, very, very beginning. My work is much more profound than that. But there's simple hand positions that you can do that can instantaneously increase your energy and bring you back to your body. And one of these positions that I do, it's actually so simple, but every single athlete, we would put money down, we would have a contest. Every athlete, when I had them do this one set of movements, every single one was able to outperform what they just did to win cash. So these simple energy techniques are incredibly powerful. Learn them, and they'll help you make better choices and live happier and more joyful.
So ultimately, we're talking about balance, body, mind, and spirit.
Not balance. We're talking about honoring, because balance kind of assumes that you have control over, both sides, and I might want to completely ditch that one side. So I don't want to have balance in my life necessarily, because earlier you were talking about boundaries and stuff like that, and being able to say no. Well, when we're saying no, that's not really balance. It's honoring, because if we say no, I'm not going to have that in my life, that's pretty much a 100. That's not a 50-50. So I like to say honoring, and I have different definitions too. So I'm not trying to, dish what you're saying, but I see it kind of different.
What message would you share with listeners about profound power?
We all have it. We all have it, and we all can get it. And it's my belief that if we live in our profound power, we're going to be happy, we're going to be joyful, we're going to have clarity of purpose, and everything in life is just going to be more wonderful, more beautiful, and our relationships are going to be very, very good.
Joe Petroski, I can say with all honesty that my life is much better since I've met you than before I met you, in many ways, including the gift of your friendship, which I think is the most important thing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Victor. Yeah, it's been a ball. It's been terrific meeting you, and I love the fact to have another man to be able to discuss stuff like this with, because as you know, the energy world has lots and lots of women, and it's really nice to be able to find a guy that's cool and knows what they're talking about.
Absolutely. Joe Petroski, please tell our listeners where they can find out more about you and Profound Power.
The website is profoundpower.net, profoundpower.net. The email is profoundpowerjoe@gmail. And the phone number is 651-755-6027. Again, the phone number is 651-755-6027. And the email is profoundpowerjoe@gmail. And again, I always offer a complimentary consultation.
Joe, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your gifts and your message.
Thank you, Victor. I appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us on Destination Unlimited. I'm Victor, the Voice Fuhrman. Have a wonderful week.